powerful weapon didn't choose a warrior, a scientist, or a leader, but a sarcastic lieutenant who just wanted coffee and quiet. In a universe full of ancient secrets and rival empires, one human accidentally unlocks a relic no species could touch for 30,000 years. Now she's not just wearing the future, she is the future. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel and show your support with a big thumbs up by liking the video. Now let's dive into this incredible, unexpected, and absolutely mind-blowing story. Lieutenant Mira Callan had seen her fair share of strange things while working as a liaison for Earth Command's Galactic Relations Division. She'd shaken hands, or equivalent appendages, with over 60 species, sat through mind-numbing peace talks on asteroid stations, and once had to mediate a trade dispute between sentient fungi and a very angry robot. But nothing compared to the sight currently in front of her. A crooked, awkward-looking mess of metal, crystal, and stringy filaments floating inside a sealed containment field. You expect me to believe that is the most powerful weapon in the galaxy? Mira tilted her head, eyebrows rising in disbelief. It looks like someone lost a bet at an alien garage sale. Dr. Norix, a six-limbed, soft-bodied alien with shifting blue skin, let out a low, annoyed trill. The sound translated roughly to a sigh. Lieutenant Callan, your species' tendency to mock the unknown is both fascinating and endlessly frustrating. Beside him hovered Counselor Velan, a shimmering crystalline entity whose voice always sounded like wind chimes caught in a breeze. It is not a weapon, it is a relic, a remnant of the Prevenar civilization, estimated to be over 30,000 galactic cycles old. Mira folded her arms and took a slow walk around the containment field, eyeing the relic with casual curiosity. And nobody's been able to activate it? Correct, Dr. Norix replied. Over 200 species have tried. All failed. Some were permanently affected. The neural interface seems to reject all forms of known consciousness. So why keep it around? Mira asked. Put it in a museum, slap a do not touch sticker on it, and call it a day. General. Baron's voice crackled through her earpiece before anyone could answer. Let her try. The room went still. Mira blinked, unsure if she'd heard correctly. Wait, what? You heard me, the general said, voice gruff and full of that classic Earth Command confidence that often ignored reason. Let the lieutenant give it a shot. Counselor Velan immediately began vibrating with alarm, a sign of distress. That is highly unwise, we do not yet understand. Relax, Mira interrupted. I'm not about to lick it or anything, just a touch, right? Dr. Norix hesitated. If you insist on proceeding, at least allow us to place neural dampeners. Nah, she said with a grin, already stepping forward. I like my brain the way it is, slightly over-caffeinated and underpaid. She reached out and placed her fingertips on what she guessed was the main plate of the strange device. It felt cool, surprisingly smooth, like water that had frozen in motion. And then everything changed. The relic pulsed, a sudden bright surge of blue and white light bursting from every seam and joint. The pieces began to shift, unfolding like some ancient mechanical flower, rearranging themselves in midair. Voices shouted in confusion. Some of the more delicate species scrambled for cover. Mira didn't move. She couldn't. The entire construct had begun to pull toward her. What the? She started but was cut off as a helmet slid over her face like flowing metal. Then, darkness. For a moment, she thought she had blacked out. But then stars bloomed all around her. Not metaphorical ones. Actual stars, galaxies, systems she didn't recognize, and some she did. She stood in the center of what seemed like a three-dimensional map of the universe. Everything glowed, labeled with symbols she couldn't read, but somehow she understood them all perfectly. A calm, emotionless voice filled the space around her. Neural link complete. Welcome, bonded user. I am System Interface Xylem. Combat Utility Environment initialized. Mira blinked, or tried to. Okay, where am I? You are within the virtual processing node of the Prevenar battle interface. Your consciousness remains tethered to your biological form. Time is paused externally. zero point 0.3 seconds have passed since contact. Feels like more, Mira muttered. Perception synchronization in progress. Xylem continued. Genetic compatibility. Confirmed. You carry ancestral markers seeded by Prevenar agents during galactic cycle 12.783. You're telling me I'm related to space engineers? Mira said. Figures. I can barely put together a shelf without instructions. Your DNA contains necessary elements for interface survival, Xylem replied. You are the first successful host in over 30,000 cycles. Before Mira could ask more, the stars swirled and the vision faded. The suit retracted from her head, sliding away in liquid motion. She was back in the laboratory, standing in silence, as the last of the light from the relic dimmed. The room was deathly quiet. Counselor Valen sparkled uncertainly. Impossible, he whispered. Dr. Norik stared. She survived. Mira exhaled slowly. Yeah, and now I really need a coffee. In that moment, no one spoke. Every alien, every dignitary, and every camera hidden in the room was fixated on the human woman who had just done what no other being in the galaxy could. She had bonded with the relic. Not through training, not through technology, but by simply being who she was. And somewhere deep inside the relic's vast memory, Xylem's dormant systems flickered awake, as if recognizing a long-lost purpose. Mira Callan wasn't entirely sure if she was awake, dreaming, or stuck in some alien version of a video game. The stars swirled around her, not in the sky, but in an endless space that somehow existed inside her mind. She stood on nothing and everything all at once, galaxies rotating slowly, each one shining like a living light. The strange part was that she could read them. Planets had names she'd never seen before, yet they felt familiar, like forgotten memories surfacing from deep inside her bones. A voice echoed softly in the vast space. It was calm, without emotion but not unfriendly. Cognitive pattern stable. Synaptic interface successful. Welcome, Mira Callan. You are now connected to the Xylem system. She turned slowly, expecting to see someone, anyone, but the voice came from nowhere. Xylem? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Yes, it replied. I am the sentient interface for the Prevenar battle system. You may consider me a guide, if that is easier to understand. I'd say it's more terrifying than anything, Mira muttered. What is this place? What's happening to me? This is the Tactical Awareness Network, Xylem explained. A virtual environment designed to allow compatible users to receive and process data at high speeds. You are inside the system's mind, while it is now linked to yours. Mira ran a hand through her hair, or at least she thought she did. She couldn't feel her body the same way. Everything seemed lighter, smoother, almost like floating in warm water. So what? You're telling me I'm inside a superweapon? Technically, the voice replied, you are fused with it. This suit was designed by the Prevenar species as the ultimate survival and combat tool. However, it cannot function without a host possessing specific genetic sequences. You are the first match in over 30 millennia. Lucky me, Mira said with a weak laugh. Let me guess. This is one of those chosen one situations? There was no prophecy, Xylem answered simply. Only biology. She shook her head, trying to process the information. She had just touched a strange alien artifact, made a few sarcastic comments, and now she was standing in a holographic universe with a machine that talked like a librarian and thought she was a perfect match. It was absurd. And yet it didn't feel like a dream. It felt real. How do I leave? She asked. You do not need to leave, said Xylem. You are safe. However, if you wish to return to external awareness, I will initiate the transition. Wait, Mira said. Before we do that, what's going to happen to me now? I mean, people saw the thing attached to me. The aliens looked like they were going to faint. The bonding process is irreversible, Xylem replied. You are now permanently linked to this system, It cannot be removed without causing fatal damage to your nervous system. Well, that's comforting, Mira muttered. Your presence will draw attention, Xylem continued. This technology has long been sought by many civilizations. Some will want to study you. Others may wish to control or eliminate you. Your position is now extremely valuable and dangerous. Mira was quiet for a long moment. Her usual humor faded as the weight of the situation settled in. She hadn't asked for this, she hadn't trained for it. She had just followed orders and touched something she shouldn't have. But maybe, just maybe, this was happening for a reason. All right, she finally said. I guess we'll figure this out together. Acknowledged, Xylem said. Would you like a brief overview of your system's capabilities before returning to reality? Sure, she said. Hit me with the highlights. In a blink, the stars shifted and reformed into a glowing diagram of the suit. Mira could see parts of it lighting up. Defense systems, power cores, movement modules. Xylem explained each feature quickly but clearly. The armor could resist nearly any known weapon. It could manipulate gravity to help her move, fly, or even disable enemy technology. It had weapons built into the gauntlets and a power source that could last thousands of years. Okay, Mira said, impressed despite herself. That's a lot. I get why everyone's so worked up about this thing. She concentrated, just like Xylem had told her, and imagined the armor as something sleek and not too threatening. The system responded immediately, reshaping the bulky frame into something more elegant, like a second skin rather than a walking tank. Visual adjustment complete, Xylem confirmed. Good, Mira said. Let's not terrify everyone when I open my eyes. Returning to external sensory awareness. In 3, 2, 1. Light flooded her vision. The lab came back into focus. She was still standing in the middle of the room. The armor had settled over her like smooth, polished metal. The energy humming through it was quieter now, almost gentle. Every alien in the room stared at her. Some looked frightened. Others looked amazed. Mira smiled and raised her hands. Okay, I'm back. No one died. That's a win, right? No one answered at first. Then Dr. Norik stepped forward, his voice barely above a whisper. You've bonded with it. The system chose you. Mira looked at her hands and then at the stunned crowd. For the first time she felt it too. Not fear, but purpose. Something deep inside her had changed. She wasn't just Mira Callan anymore. She was something more. And somewhere far beyond the stars, someone or something had just felt her wake up. Mira Callan didn't sleep much after the bonding. Not that she could, really. Every time she closed her eyes, she could feel the suit humming, like a living thing gently pulsing against her skin. It didn't hurt. It wasn't even uncomfortable. But it never stopped. It was like trying to sleep next to a machine that whispered secrets into your mind and asked questions in return. That was the strangest part. Xylem, the AI, didn't just speak. It listened, it learned, and it was always there. 2 days after the bonding event, Mira was moved from the research outpost to Earth Command's central station orbiting Jupiter. The relocation was quick, quiet, and very secure. She didn't see sunlight, didn't hear birds, didn't even get to choose what socks she wore. Earth Command wanted her close and under control. She wasn't officially a prisoner, but the guards outside her room didn't feel like a friendly gesture. The scientists came in waves, dozens of them. They poked, prodded, scanned, and questioned. Dr. Rylan, the lead analyst from Earth's Department of Advanced Tech, asked more questions in 10 minutes than Mira had answers for in an hour. He seemed genuinely fascinated by the technology, but entirely uninterested in how Mira felt about wearing it. It responds to your thoughts, he asked, not looking up from his tablet. More or less, Mira replied, sitting cross-legged on the sterile examination table. It's like thinking, in stereo. And it hasn't attempted to override your will? He added. Nope, she said. Still making my own terrible decisions. Xylem, always polite, offered quiet corrections during these interviews. He helped Mira navigate questions she didn't understand and blocked any attempts to access the deeper systems of the suit. That part made the scientist frustrated, and Mira found it secretly satisfying. She might be the test subject, but she wasn't helpless. Outside the lab, the galaxy had started to take notice. Mira's accidental activation of Prevenar technology had spread like wildfire across the diplomatic networks. News broke on over 100 planets in less than 12 hours. Some species celebrated it as a sign of prophecy fulfilled. Others saw it as a threat. Every government, council, and coalition wanted to speak with her, or interrogate her depending on who you asked. Mira watched some of the news feeds. Her name and face were everywhere. Artists were already drawing her in glowing armor, like she was some kind of warrior goddess. Conspiracy forums accused Earth of hiding ancient tech for decades. A cult from one of the outer colonies declared her a living star child. It would have been funny if it wasn't so terrifying, but not everyone was treating it like a miracle. That same evening, Commander Oren briefed her in private. He was a quiet man with sharp eyes and the posture of someone who had spent too many years giving orders in zero gravity. He didn't waste words. "We've intercepted chatter," he said. "Several groups are already trying to locate and isolate you." "Assassins?" Mira asked, not flinching. "Some. Others might try to capture. The suit is the most valuable piece of technology in known space now, which makes you valuable and vulnerable." "Nice to feel appreciated," Mira said with a dry smirk. That was when she met Tay. Tay was a communications technician assigned to Mira's temporary unit. He was young, quiet, and had the kind of thoughtful eyes that suggested he listened more than he talked. He didn't ask for autographs, he didn't treat her like a legend or a weapon. He just brought her coffee, sat nearby during downtime, and occasionally asked thoughtful questions. Real ones. "Do you think the Prevenar made more like you?" he asked one night. Mira tilted her head. "More suits or more hosts?" "Both," he said. She thought about it. "Xylem thinks I was meant to find it, or at least someone like me. Maybe there are others out there who could do the same." Tay nodded slowly. "If that's true, the galaxy's about to change." He was right. She could feel it already. This wasn't just about one person wearing an ancient suit. It was about what that symbol meant. If a single human could activate something no other species could touch, what else had they overlooked? What other limits weren't real? And then, just as Mira started to feel like she might understand her place in all this, it happened. The alarms blared. Xylem's voice sounded in her head before the sirens even finished. "Threat approaching. Unauthorized personnel breaching hangar bay entrances. Estimated hostile force, 17. Weapons detected." Mira stood instantly. Her heart didn't race. Her mind didn't panic. The suit shifted, preparing. For once, she didn't feel confused or afraid. Tay jumped up beside her. "You need to get to the secure corridor." "No time," she said. "They're already here." "Then what do we do?" Mira looked toward the sealed blast doors and smiled. "We show them they picked the wrong human to mess with." The lights flickered as the power grid shifted to emergency mode. Footsteps echoed beyond the door. The attackers had arrived, and Mira Callan, no longer just a soldier, was ready to meet them. The first explosion shook the walls like a giant's fist, sending dust and sparks cascading from the ceiling of Earth Command's main research wing. Mira Callan didn't flinch. The suit, no, the system, had already begun its work. Lights shimmered along the seams of her armor, pulsing in quiet rhythm as it scanned, assessed, and prepared. Xylem's voice spoke clearly in her mind. Multiple hostiles. Entry breach confirmed in sectors 1 through 3. Estimated response time. Before reinforcements arrive, 9 minutes. Plenty of time, Mira muttered, flexing her fingers as the suit tightened into combat form. Beside her, Tay crouched low behind a reinforced data console, his wide eyes tracking her every move. He had never seen her like this before, focused, calm, even dangerous, and yet still completely human. "They're here for the suit, right?" he asked, his voice barely audible over the rising alarm. "They think they're here for a machine," Mira said, stepping forward as another blast cracked the doors open wider. They're not ready for what it chose. As the attackers poured in, a mix of armored mercenaries and dark-suited infiltrators, Mira moved. Not with panic or fury, but precision. The suit responded faster than thought. Energy shields flared to life, deflecting plasma fire. She vaulted over a crate, her movement smooth and efficient, and released a controlled shockwave that knocked two attackers into the far wall. Xylem offered tactical suggestions in real time, but Mira didn't need every instruction anymore. She was adapting, fast. The attackers shouted, confused by her speed and the suit's abilities. They had come prepared for tech. They hadn't come prepared for her. Non-lethal pulses lit up the room, disabling weapons and scrambling targeting systems. Mira wasn't trying to kill. She wanted answers. One of the intruders lunged with a pulse blade, and she countered instantly, twisting the weapon from his grip and pressing him into the floor with a magnetic clamp. "Who sent you?" she asked, her voice amplified through the suit. "Talk." The man growled through clenched teeth. "Doesn't matter. You're a piece of history wrapped in metal. Everyone wants you." "Then maybe they should have sent someone polite," she said, stepping back as the remaining enemies realized they were hopelessly outmatched. Within minutes it was over. A silence fell across the corridor. The attackers, stunned or disabled, lay scattered among smoking equipment and flickering lights. Xylem confirmed the breach was contained. No casualties. No permanent harm. Mira exhaled, her muscles finally starting to relax. Tay stepped out, his mouth hanging open. "That was incredible." Mira shook her head. "No, that was survival." But even as she said it, something deeper stirred inside her. This wasn't just about making it through the moment. Something had shifted. She wasn't wearing a suit anymore. She was part of it. They were one now. And that bond came with more than power. It came with purpose. Later in the debriefing room, Earth Command officials crowded around her like she was a new star they couldn't quite understand. General Oren looked both impressed and cautious. "You saved everyone in that wing," he said. "The Galactic Council will want answers. They'll want to know what this suit can really do." Mira looked up from the datapad she'd been handed. "It's not the suit they should be curious about. It's the reason it chose me." "What do you mean?" asked one of the scientists. Xylem's voice answered before she could. "This system was never designed merely to destroy. It was created to connect, to guide civilizations toward unity through shared defense and deeper knowledge." Mira nodded. "The Prevenar didn't build this to conquer. They built it to protect, and they planted pieces of themselves across the stars to make sure someone someday would continue that mission." "You think there are others?" General Oren asked. "I know there are," she replied. "Xylem showed me something after the first connection. A star map. Markers. Points of light scattered across the galaxy. I'm not the only one. There are more." The room went quiet. For all the power Mira had demonstrated, it was that idea, that there could be others like her, that shook them most. "So what now?" Tay asked later as they stood alone on the observation deck watching Jupiter spin slowly beyond the glass. "Now," Mira said, a small smile playing on her lips. "We find them." "You're leaving?" he asked, even though he already knew the answer. "I have to," she said. "This suit, it's not just a gift. It's a call, and I won't let the galaxy turn it into another weapon." Tay hesitated, then held out a small communicator. "Then take this. You'll need someone back here keeping the lines open." Mira accepted it, her fingers brushing his. "Thanks, Tay, for everything." A few hours later, a small stealth-class ship lifted off from the station. Inside, Mira sat in the pilot's chair, the stars stretched out in front of her like a path waiting to be walked. The suit hummed quietly in sync with her heartbeat. Xylem's voice broke the silence. "Coordinates locked. Would you like me to plot a course for the nearest echo signal?" Mira stared ahead, her eyes steady and bright. "Do it. Let's meet the rest of the family." And with a soft flash of light, the ship jumped into the unknown, carrying not a soldier, not a hero, but an inheritor of stars.